Your national radio. KBC English Service.
It's been another week of high political drama, defections between the political parties. The leaders of the Doctors' Union are now in jail as the strike in public hospitals continues to day number 74. The courts extend a voter registration period and put some more pressure on the IBC. We have loads to discuss this morning. We are delighted to be joined in studio by our best political analysts. We have with us Ambrose, Weda, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, member of the LSK Disciplinary Committee, and chairman of Sony Suga.
Simply the sweetest. I
tell you, simply the sweetest. And we have with us also Judge Kithi, advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Very good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning.
And let's begin with the sad news of the passing of Kwale Senator Boy Juma Boy last Sunday at our Nairobi hospital. The late senator's gift of gab, particularly in Kiswahili, was second to none.
Kuuza Jubilee Kwale ni sawasawa na kuuza nyama ya nguruwe Maka, itanunulika. Wenda Maka huko kwa Waislamu, hapo Maka penyewe wenda uza nyama ya nguruwe. Mabwana, ufisadi kama jumuiya tusimameni imara, tusemeni ufisadi haufai. Akasirikaya kasiriki, apasukaya pasuki.
Juma Boy Juma. Kithi, what do you recall about this Kwale senator?
He was a friend of mine.
Okay.
I knew him. Mm-hmm. He inherited that seat from his father. I think he's done 3 terms in a row, if I'm not wrong. But what I think happened to him is he mutated into this politician who was a very big asset to ODM and court for that matter. Mm-hmm. He had, yes, the gift of the gab, but I think he was coming out to blend properly with coast politics, especially in South Coast. What happened in Coast is that the political South Coast is a bit different on account of the fact that there are many historical issues. I won't call them historical injustice, but I don't think it falls there. Mm-hmm. But historical issues on land. And more importantly, there's a radicalized mind, especially with the youth, mm-hmm. that needed someone who can de-radicalize
this whole concept. Okay.
So what's important to note about him, he blended well with society. He was very good with the gift of the gab, but more importantly, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, he was the choice of people, especially in these elections. But anyway, God's plans are God plans.
And life goes on.
And
on that note, here's the next question, and I'll ask Weda. Now, considering how close this is to the general elections, are they really going to have a by-election?
No, I think according to the timetable, there will be no by-election. I really don't think. It does not make sense. Mm-hmm. It cannot fit in the plans. It will not, because it's about in the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
The parliament is going to be dissolved.
Yes.
So there'll be no need to have a by-election. Although I hear people, may God rest his soul in eternal glory, and it's a sad demise. Although when people die, we say, oh, gift of the gab, oh, what. I've never had a single quote that you can quote. He was making jokes like Lembendile down there. I have always said, and I keep on saying, that when you expire, mm-hmm. what legacy are you leaving?
What are you leaving behind? Humanity? What will we say? What will you remember?
Yes, if Wangari Maathai died, did she leave for us a legacy?
She did.
Yes. Mm. Now, see, these other people, because we gave you a position, you are either lawyer or you are chairman or you are MP. When you expire, you say, we gave you all this.
What did you leave for us?
What did you leave for us?
Yeah. And you always ask that.
I've always said,
yeah.
His sad is gone, but he's left us worse. He's left us with just jokes to laugh about. But nothing you can say philosophically. So and so said this.
I thought jokes,
so and so did this.
Jokes is part of something, isn't it?
I don't eat jokes myself. I don't.
But let me put it this way.
Yes.
To be fair to him,
right?
His role was to ensure that the people of Kwale get education, because that is what is probably the solution that we need. And you know what? He doesn't.
So he did that bad.
Yes, so many people have gone out.
What
to
Wamesoma?
I know he'll want to say it's the Governor Mvure, but Governor Mvure is in ODM as we speak for the time being.
No, I'm not talking about.
Wait.
I compared about
legacy. No,
legacy.
He
Which legacy are you living?
I have a legacy.
We will be saying Weda was a lawyer or Weda was a chairman. That's not enough. Leave us a legacy.
Hang on, no, you see, both of you still can create your legacies. So he asked what legacy has he left, and you have fafanuad and said he has left a legacy watu wamesoma, si ndio? Tuendelee basi, twende kazi. Now, yesterday was supposed to be the deadline for voter registration, but in the last minute, Okiya Mtata got us into trouble, and the High Court has ordered IEBC to extend this by 2 days to the 16th. How is this likely to impact on, first of all, preparation for elections, especially in terms of the cost to the IEBC and the taxpayer?
Interesting. By the way, yesterday, at the time that order was being given, granted, and it went on 411, I was passing at St. George's. Is it Upper Hill or something?
St. George's over here,
yes,
State House Road.
State House Road.
Right.
The queue was long. After the news, it cut into half.
You see the problem.
Then it cut into quarter.
And they went home.
People had more time, so they left because they have to enjoy that more time. Typical of Kenyans, like we've had from their own comments. But this is how it is. I think yes, there are people by there who had challenges trying to get to their homes and preferred destinations or stations.
A whole month.
Yes. That happens. There could be reasons. There are always reasons.
Logistical.
Yes,
fine.
logistical reasons. Some people won't even get permission. And by the during elections, there's this rule and law that comes. Either we declare a public holiday so that people can travel,
which is
that
the
arrangement
practice.
Is done,
yeah.
Which is the practice. Alternatively, it's also illegal for you to deny people to go and vote. Incidentally, it is not illegal for you to deny people permission to go and register as voters. All right.
Okay. So
that if people work in certain shifts, so that they have to be at work every day for that month, you won't get that permission. So that arrangement has not been put into place.
But now, is it the impact whether on the taxpayer this extra 2 days?
I think some quotes are crazy, if you ask me. Planning is divine. In fact, what God has put into you, He wants you to plan. I remember in the Bible Jesus Christ Himself saying, if you want to build a tower, don't you sit down. Estimate the costs. All the things. In other words, planning is fundamental. If we are going to have free, fair, transparent elections, we have to have a transparent plan that works. And that plan must be on paper. And people must know about it, and it must then be funded, and it must work on timelines. So a judge just sitting somewhere in a small chambers with little oxygen just decides, as before I hear this thing, let me add 2 days. 2 days means millions of shillings. People all over continue. That millions of shillings, the IBC may not have had it. They may not have budgeted it in their budget. The timelines are being busted. So you look at a judge and you say, where did we pick some of these judges? Which corners? They are going to run this country into anarchy. Because there is a time when they're supposed to make the register. There's a time to open it for inspection. There's a time to clean it. And you can see there's contentious issues about cleaning the register. There must be enough time. So if you are interfering with this because you think Kenyans are last minute people, I was very dismayed by that kind of order.
And of course, we will continue this conversation in just a bit. Okay. We need to do the headlines, and we shall continue discussing this issue of extension and the impact on the taxpayer. And of course, they say failing to plan is planning to. Well, failing to plan is planning to fail. Exactly. So we shall look into that. Of course, we have with us Advocate Ambrose Weda and George Kithi. And I'm telling you, it's gone beyond. Hey, some people say it's hard in here. This will be beyond smoking. Keep it locked. In studio, we have with us Ambrose Weda, Advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and also George Kithi, both advocates. So yes, we're going to have people giving submissions in just a minute. And the topic of contention just before we took a break was the issue of extension of voter registration by a period of 2 days, where Ambrose Weda has said this is going to be a big challenge to the taxpayers because IEBC may not have budgeted for the extended 2 days. George, you were saying?
Yep. Fact is, democracy is not cheap. The law must be obeyed. By the time you plan within the confines of law. And purely as judges, their duty is to interpret the law. the argument before court has nothing to do with the expense. It has nothing to do with whether or not Kenya are last-minute people. The issue before court is very simple. Was the calendar as provided in law followed, and the fidelity of law and the constitutional provision and the rights of the people, and therefore the tenets of democracy? That is the issue before law. At the interim stage, the judge found that there was merit in the application by Omtata, and therefore the orders were granted. So it is not right to say that the judges first by the application, first with the facts before it, they breached the law. I think it's okay to say that the judges exercise their discretion as ought to be, and
okay, so we shall not get into the thought of the judge, but let's ask ourselves, really, will this 2-day extension make a difference? They were targeting 6 million. We're not even at 3.
Look, it will make a difference because the law has been followed. It's about the fidelity of the law.
But what about the issue of registration? You gave a beautiful illustration. State House Road yesterday, Wameskia extension, they went home.
Look here, there's nothing illegal, there's nothing untoward in taking advantage of an opportunity or time that has been allocated to you. So I think it's okay for Kenyans to have gone to do other things, because anyway, there could be something burning, somebody in hospital, something that had to be attended, because you have more time. Otherwise, in terms of planning, you deal with that which is most urgent. As at yesterday, what was most urgent was the deadline. Because it was extended, there was something urgent, then it means priority changes. And I think everybody has a right to be an opportunist in that respect.
Now, on the still issue, on the issue of courts, this is now, both of you will get into this one. Of course, still on the IBC, the Commission says its preparations for the August 8th elections have been thrown into great uncertainty after the High Court nullified the 2.5 billion tender awarded to a Dubai-based firm for printing ballot papers. Justice George Odunga ruled that the tender had failed to comply with election laws. In what ways did this tender fail to comply? Who do we start with? Weda, George, who goes first?
First of all, let me take in what you said about the law. First of all, the application itself, there was delay. You don't wait until the last day, then you go for it. Secondly, we even have in our constitution right to due health, right to food, right to what? But the Supreme Court has said, subject to availability of funds. We must plan with the available funds. Even budgeting is enshrined in the constitution. Things are budgeted for and funds are allocated. Orders are not just issued in the air. That order issued by that judge is funny. Let's come to
let's look at now this the cancellation of the
now that I think IBC should take responsibility for failing to comply. The laws, they actually should be experts in procurement law and experts in electoral law. And election is so sensitive that if you are the umpire or the referee, you do not want to be caught on the wrong side. So this one throws the whole process into question, but they take full responsibility. And I think here the court was right in saying, this was wrong, we refute it. We stop you from it, go back and do it correctly.
Go back to the drawing
and I think now they should not be lamenting. They should be back seated and saying, we have lost this period. How do we do it? And they can do it in 2 weeks. After all, the ballot paper are supposed to come in August. Why are they telling us? Why they still have 5-6 months? When they are printed from heaven.
Now, here's the question, and I'm going to ask this to Kithi. Now, according to Ezra Chiloba, he says the ruling by the Justice Odunga means that all decisions made for the last 3 months are null and void. Would you agree with these sentiments, and what would that mean to the just concluded voter registration?
Well, if he says all decisions, we honestly don't have stock of all decisions that they have made. If the null and void is because they made wrong decision, they shouldn't be in that office in the first place. You know, Chiloba is learning politics now.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for a fact that IBC is a political outfit in itself. On account of the fact it will handle politics, and anything that is does will be interpreted from a political perspective or point of view. But let's put it this way, that they still have time, and I do agree with my colleague that there's still enough time upon which to right the wrong that they did. They are the ones who did the wrong. They have a battery of lawyers in-house and outside who can advise them on what should be followed at every point in time. At this time, I think what is important is that every decision that has to be made by IBC must be consistent
and comply,
and in fact strictly to the fidelity of law, and cannot abrogate the responsibilities in law, because you see why we've legislated strongly. And there's so many laws that we put into place in this election period, right from the day when we say an election is coming to the day that we count and post that. We've legislated throughout, and we've enshrined many things in the Constitution, which probably is an entire catalogue that we put into place. They must follow that law, because they took that office in order to respect,
and they understood what they were going to do.
So they can't lament. And most importantly is that if it's I think they're putting into place a mechanism to fail, because if they've started failing now and we're continuing to collect them in court through and through, it's really scary whether we have men and women who are up to the task in that outfit.
Now this is going to
let me have a go. You asked a specific question that Chiloba said that ruling means all the decisions they have made in the past
3 months are nullified.
Now that is wrong. If you meet him, tell him that interpretation is wrong, and he has picked it either from his kitchen or wherever. What was before the court was a tender process and a tender result.
Yes.
That is what the court has said. There's something wrong with it. It has not said that if they removed money and bought some tea and they're making tea in the offices, that one is also null and void. Let him also not confuse his mind and confuse us. It is the tender process that the court has pronounced itself on. Period.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Now let's get back to court. Wait, let's continue. Today it's hot. At least that one we know. Now we know it's just tendering. Now let's move on. Again, the courts this week. And the person we're now going to talk about is Industrial Court Judge Helen Wasilwa. She was first considered very soft and very lenient.
Yes.
And finally the hammer came down, and she jailed the 7 top officials of the Kenya Medical Practitioner, Pharmacists and Dentist Union, KMPDU, for a month over what the judge said was failing to comply with the court's orders. Now, will this ruling help or harm the already delicate situation?
I think the ruling continues to cause trouble. It harms, and it is, in my view, very wrong decision. Why do I say wrong decision? These people are convicted of contempt. They have failed to obey an order, but the order that they were supposed to obey is an order on things beyond them. Beyond them is that they are officials, but they are members. Members must decide we are calling off a strike. If it was an individual decision, then you take it, but this one is a collective decision, both the officials and the membership, and then there are also now government, and then there are also the court, and there's all these people are involved, yet you go and deal with one particular group. The other part, which is also wrong, you cannot be locked in with an option of fine. These days there are many offenses where the court say the constitution has said you get a jail sentence, but where it is possible you also get a fine. Now, working association, same contempt, same trade disputes, same issues, they had an option of a fine. This other one, you go in Kavu. That is wrong. Thirdly, we are looking for a solution. The threat of being jailed would have worked best than being jailed. 3-4 days you are used inside. Then you say, let's wait for 30 days. Then we come back. I think even the courts should live in society. They should live and feel the heartbeat of the social fabric. They should not be in isolation there, and then they sit in those rooms and they make orders like extend voter registration, jail this one, do that one. They must understand our society.
So now, George, what say you?
Well, I think it was right. I agree with the judge meting punishment. However, I do know that the policy in terms of sentencing in this country now is that for offences such as contempt,
for non-serious offences,
yes, it's a serious offence, right, by the way, but you must provide an option for fine. But I think the doctors exhibited utmost arrogance. They were told to call off the strike. Their duty was not to ensure that doctors go back to work. Their duty was to call off the strike. it is a court that participating in the proceedings. They disobey the court, and when they come out, the same way we are alive to society, the same way we are alive to the apply, they must be able to respect the law. They must be able to uphold the law. When they are told by an institution such as judiciary that they should call off the strike, they ought to have done it. As to whether doctors will go, you can do the same thing and achieve, you can comply with them and achieve the same thing. Call off the strike, but the doctors won't go to work anyway, because you can't control that. But the act of compliance was into calling off the strike. So now, and that was the order of the court. It was simple to comply. So but number two, I think the wisdom exercised by the judge is called to question, as Mr. Weda has said, on account of the fact that it was possible to midwife negotiations through the court process, meaning that people go out there and continue to report in court. We've done that many times until such a time that
an agreement is made,
appropriate direction is given by the court. But remember, the best chance for the judge to jail them was the first instance of contempt that he pronounced them. The second instance, he had given them time for them to negotiate, so that then the position had shifted. Who is causing what and who is
holding things back?
Yes, that was very important for her to consider, so that the mitigating issue there was, have they disobeyed per se, or the circumstances
are the ones that are hostile to resolution.
But again, you do not go to out of court for the doctors, and this is important for the doctors to know, that the institution of a judiciary and the judge, you don't go abusing the judge outside there just because you've been told, you've been given more time. I think I was talking to a doctor the other day, and the doctor was telling me, you lawyers are jailing doctors. Of course it was in jest, but the fact remains that, you know what, ultimately everybody who goes before the court is a subject of the court and must obey.
So we'll say rules must be obeyed.
They must to the latter. Everybody must obey the law.
Fine, but now, like what I mentioned, you see, it is not a guarantee that they will stop. And in support of that, we have doctors who have vowed to hold vigil, during that period. And they said that they would, especially like at the coast, they've threatened to withdraw their services until the 7 are released. And here is one of the coast consultants talking about, where is he? Here.
We demand the immediate release of our colleagues unconditionally. We notify the public that we consultants in private sectors are withdrawing all our services effective midnight of 15th February 2017 for 48 hours, subject to review. The government, both at the national and county level, to treat this health crisis with urgency it deserves. All stumbling blocks, including the senior officers in the Afia House, should resign or be sacked for failure to solve this health crisis. There will be no negotiations until the CBA 7 are released.
So, of course, that is a private consultant. And there is also Atwoli also talking about infighting within Afia House between the Health Cabinet Secretary Cleofa Mailu and Principal Secretary Nicholas Muragori, and he accuses the PS of holding separate talks with some of the unions, and this is what he had to say.
Iko vita katika wizara ya afya kati ya Nicholas Muragori ambaye ni permanent secretary na Cleophas Mailu, na mimi naomba Uhuru Kenyatta ambaye alinipa pesa ya kuongeza hawa mshahara aingilie wizara, aseparate waziri wake na principal secretary, isolate CBA from a return to work formula, because a return to work formula utapata hizi pesa, serikali inasema hii mshahara itaanza January, ile hasara serem ni mwezi wa Julai. Chukueni hizi pesa muweke kwa mfuko. Senior doctors na wasinipige shindano, hata kijana yangu ni mmoja, Professor Lukoya Atwoli, hawa pia wana misadvise hawa vijana ambao wako kwa mgomo madaktari, my son included. Ukiona ile kitu naingilia kusuluhisha nishindwe, Wajaluo naisema entiegi moro, iko kitu ingine ndani.
Now, and you both raise that issue. It's fine. The doctors, if this hostile environment, what is the way forward? If already it's clear that there's a gap between the CS and the PS, in what way do we intervene? Because fine, putting the 7 in is not helping. Now they're saying that they will go and plead with the Court of Appeal to release the doctors. But will that give us a resolution to the strike? Weda?
I think, first of all, those doctors, the one from Kosengi, we appeal to government. The government has no powers to release the doctors. It is the court. It cannot be that when Okia Mtata extends, goes to court and 2 days are extended, that one the judiciary is independent and working very well. When the doctors are jailed, Jubilee government has jailed them. We cannot have double speak. It is the same court that can release them. And that same court requires due process. You either go to the court of appeal or a negotiation is done. Even if they withdraw their services, unless they go back to court, or unless the president decides to exercise power of clemency, which also has regulations, it will not be possible within the 30 days. But I think sanity should prevail all round, among the doctors, among the union officials, among Mailu, between Mailu and the PS, and all these people, so that we say we are looking at one problem for all the country, for all the people of Kenya. And therefore, let us seed ground. Let doctors seed, let government seed, let people seed ground, so that we have a temporary solution as we look for a permanent solution. That is my view. Jailing these people does not help much, in my view.
Kithi?
Why I think the private practitioners or that doctor or the consultant who was making the statement, he must understand that he's beholden to duty to those people he has admitted in hospitals. So he can't say he's downing his tools. If you're a doctor and you've admitted a patient in Nairobi hospital and you're supposed to attend, either go for a C-section or whatever type of operation, you will have to attend to that person.
Yes.
Remember that.
Right.
So you can't say you're downing tools overnight and that's it. I mean, you will have to continue attending to those people because you are under duty, a private duty in law to
and
attend
an
to
obligation
that
as a human being.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Number two is, I've always questioned, doctors are called upon to work in an environment where there's Ebola and are not even paid, sometimes in countries where, it is pathetic, but they're helping humanity. Okay? So when Weda says doctors should sit ground, they should sit ground on from two positions. That one, yes, they can get something out of it that is developmental in terms of
facilities,
is incremental,
yes.
Because it can't be done in a day.
Right.
I mean, we can't solve everything in a day. But number two, they're not the only ones asking for this. There'll be teachers, there'll be soldiers, there'll be police, there'll be everybody.
Already we have professors and everyone else.
Yes. And number three is that, yes, there's the human aspect. Doctors must sit ground on the ground that, purely on this, in one respect, that there's a human being whose lives need to be attended to,
right,
whose suffering need to be attended to. That also is a consideration. Where they're heading to, the sympathy that they've been eliciting from Kenyans will disappear.
Is waning off.
Somehow, somewhat.
Okay, now let's move on. Now let's talk about two high-profile defections from Jubilee Party to ODM. There is Lipapa. Cabinet Chipapa Ali Makwere.
It's Zipapa.
Zipapa. We all got him wrong. Sawa. And Sam Ongeri, who were received by Raila Odinga, and they will be running for governor's positions in Kwale and Kithi counties. Were you surprised by these defections? Weda, your people have gone.
I think the old guards are trooping together.
That's a good one. Okay.
Actually, part of the problem Jubilee had in Kithi was when our candidate President Uhuru Kenyatta stuck with that man Ongeri. We were saying we are digital, we are young, we are Yankee, yummy. Then here comes Ongeri. What happened? We lost. The other side, hey, Wanyonge, mimi ni Wanyonge, sijui nini Wanyonge, Makwere down there. What happened? We lost to ODM.
Okay.
Now we have taken the winners. And we have they are going back to cause trouble, which they caused to us last time.
You are them over.
I think we call them high profile, but they are empty. If they lost last election, what makes them high profile today?
Okay.
In fact, it is only that there was very little the Jubilee side who are saying we are young, we are digital, could do. And they went and circled, they sat there with big names. When you saw Ongeri and you see Sakaja, now Ongeri says, I've been this, I know this game. Blah, 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 blah. What happened? Out.
Okay, now.
So, why are we
So, Jubilee has no problem. Kithi, what do you see here?
Well, I think symbolically, it's high profile defection. It's a loss in this sense that Makwere has been an ambassador in Jubilee in Tanzania for all this time. He resigns but does not to join police, but doesn't come to Jubilee. There's something telling.
He bites the hand that fed him.
Yes, there's something telling about his either his experience with Jubilee, but in the alternative, it's to be fair to Jubilee, there was no space for him because Mvurya had already moved from ODM to Jubilee.
So this one was looking for an
option. So there was no space there.
Right.
I think there was an element of the Jubilee luminaries tried to bring sanity and talk to them, just like they did with Shabal and one Mwaboza in Mombasa, so that one becomes a running mate. But it was very difficult to have Mvurya running mate to Zipapa, because Zipapa is an elder. Again, it was also difficult to have
to vice versa.
To vice versa. So one had to quit, and I think Mokwere found safe haven in Raila's staff. But remember that Mokwere and Raila have had their own run-ins before.
So
we just want to see how what this will happen. Again, for purposes of oratory, he's a very big asset to ODM. So Mvurya must. They say Mvurya has met his match, but let's see how it goes.
So we shall sit back and watch.
I can tell you Mvurya is also not a pushover. He's very popular down there, so is Mokwere.
So it will be a heated.
It's going to be
heated. Well, that's what we want. We want people to be able to exercise their privileges as voters. Now let's shift to Laikipia.
I must add this. For Wangari, I agree with Weda. I think he's a spend force.
Okay.
He's not an impact to behold.
Well, it's nice to know at least these guys will agree at one point. Now let's move on. Let's move to Laikipia, where armed pastoralist groups have, over the past few months, forcefully moved their livestock herds into ranches or conservancies. Properties have been destroyed, people's lives have been damaged, wildlife killed, tourists being caught up in these cases. The government maintains it's on top of things in Laikipia, and here is the county commissioner, Onesimus Musyoki.
The government will never relent, and it will not relent in regard to this matter. And I want to assure you, it is just a matter of time we'll get to the bottom of this matter. So the situation is not deteriorating. What we are doing is that the operation is still on, and we only have a few challenges in 2 or 3 farms.
Now, even as the government assures residents of having the situation under control, this is what the farmers are saying on the ground.
They came 40 Mulans with guns, and the police officer who are sent to maybe take care of that issue, they're around 5. So he said, no, they cannot be in a position to intervene of that problem. So I found that I have reached my dead end.
And we also have a nominated MP, Sarah Korere, who hails from the region and reckons this conflict has very little to do with the prevailing drought.
What you are seeing in Laikipia is no longer invasions. It's total anarchy. From where I sit, I can say it is not about the drought. It is about politics. It is about the laxity of government to protect its citizens and their property.
And of course, we've had discussions even here with our callers saying the same thing. Now, what do you think? MPs call the situation in Laikipia total anarchy. What are your reactions?
It's not total anarchy. I think, first of all, these people are enjoying large tracts of land. You have to travel by helicopter.
No, there are also guys with the 2 acres, 1 acre, 4 acres, also suffering.
Let me just finish. And large tracts of land, and now there's drought, and this large tracts of land, there's grass. Sometimes it's good for good neighborliness. You get it, good neighborliness to save the situation. So it is not anarchy, as they say. Let them appreciate that those who have large tracts of land and their ancestors are not here. Their ancestors, they came here when we were still asleep and took everywhere, and the people are waking up. The more they find a better solution, a solution where people survive, where you saw what happened to Makto. He had untold 25,000 hectares
and people
of
have
land.
invaded.
Not that they've been living there, and they've been asking him, just give us a quarter. There's nothing much you are doing with this land. He said no. So I do not support such anarchy, but I think the solution is not calling police on one side with guns and police on the other side. It's a question of saying, if you have grass which you are not using today, allow these people to keep the animal for now, and then when the rains come, we will ask them to leave, and they'll have no justifiable reason. But otherwise now, we can't just send them to death, and they're seeing grass on the other side just drying up. Let's be human beings. This selfishness of capitalism should stop.
But whether I have, now this one, I can speak from personal experience. I have friends who have 1 acre. People have come and taken everything. Wamekula mboga zao, they've done and caused havoc. What will you say? You're not invading your brothers. What are those whose ancestors were? What do you do with that one?
With the drought now, with the drought, even your mboga.
But you see, there's a way you do something. You don't come and destroy lives. Destroy property.
I'm not advocating for the destruction of property. I'm only saying we are facing a crisis as a country. of a drought. It is not only here, it is in Australia, I think it is wherever, it is all over. Let us look for solutions that help both of us. Let those who have not be too selfish.
Kithi?
The responsibility in security is given to government. When you vote, the only right actually that you hold is the right to self-defense. Otherwise, everything is provided for by government.
Right.
Now, security is one of them. The government has failed in many ways to provide security to its citizens in this country. But in circumstances where it is expected to be very easy for government to provide security, it even fails. We have, and I can tell you as a matter of fact from experience, I have been a victim of invasion by cattle communities into some land. It's not the best experience. These people, just wait. Let me not disclose.
It is invasion.
What happens is these people come with guns. They come with animals.
And you have nothing.
How they behave is when they enter into your land, they surround your land with guns and supervise the animals eating your plant.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether not the grass.
Plants. And remember, grass can be very precious depending on what you're keeping it for.
Yes.
I could have kept that grass because it has commercial value. It has other values other than the fact that it should belong to someone else. So when somebody sees grass, it doesn't mean it belongs to you automatically. Where is the respect for private property in this country? But it's worse because when 40 Morans with guns, as has been said in news, invade a property and there are only 5 police officers to protect that, I think there's a mismatch. So what I think is called upon is if we had 40 police officers and 40 Morans to protect the property, it would have made sense. Meaning the government then failed in detecting or anticipating that the 40 Morans, which again is wrong. So we are saying this. I think let the government be called upon to provide security to its people because that is its responsibility.
Now, before I am out of time, but I need to squeeze in this thing, and this is our leaders behaving badly. Last week, nominated Senator Paul Njoroge caught the eye of the nation when he was caught on camera brandishing a gun and shooting in the air over a business dispute that he was charged in court. Kenyans are furious that he was only charged with causing a disturbance. This man could have hurt or killed someone, and he only gets charged with causing a disturbance. We're beginning to wonder about our legal system.
No. I think he was charged with the right offense, in my view.
He could have killed someone.
In fact, I saw a person I saw a big fool in the fellow. Somebody has cocked his gun and fired in the air, and you run kidogo and you come back. I saw one big fool.
Let us not name him. I know who you're saying.
You see, when you are losing your property of that magnitude, you don't have your legs. You may have hypertension and high blood pressure, and you have a gun in your hand, and somebody is coming to poke his hands. I think that was very serious. But Njoroge also, he had a right to be angry, but he should have also controlled his use. The gun is supposed to be cocked and used not to scare people, but to bring down the threats, not to scare. Yes, that's actually the law.
Please do not.
When you're protecting yourself, you produce it. You don't use it. I come here. You use it to bring down the threat. There was no threat. He could have simply gone back to court for contempt. But I think he got it wrong. The charge he got, I think, was the right one, and he forgot he's a leader. He's a leader, so our children emulate him, and that is where he owes us a duty, and that was a mistake.
Don't you think this license should have been revoked?
Due process must be followed in things. Even I saw the way they have revoked Mailus and whatever. Without due process, you will come here, and you find a letter on your table that you don't have a job. You say, what did I do? You say, utaambiwa mbele. Due process must be followed for everybody, including Hitler, if he was to come back.
Okay, sawa. But I need to throw a few stones. Weda.
Yes.
Mambo ya Soni Suga. We can see the MD is back. So what is the fate of the... First of all, does that mean there's peace there?
No. We have actually declared the position vacant. It will.
She's not back?
She's back, but clearing out.
Oh, she's on her way out.
She has 60 days to clear out.
Now, what is the state of the sugar worth 5 million that was stolen?
That one day somebody is gonna move to court one. I can assure you. We don't steal public property and get rich outside there, and then Weda comes and claps for you. Never.
Weda has declared war.
Not that I've declared war. If I don't, the law provides that I'm liable for what I do and what I fail to do. I will be guilty of negligence. So the day when I want to be President of the Republic of Kenya, or Chief Justice, or Judge of the Supreme Court, Kithi here will come and say, Weda is my friend, I love him, he's great. But now, when he was in charge of Suni, sugar just disappeared and he was just clapping. So we don't know whether he's the one who took it or his friends.
And I will be out.
But I like the fact that now you sell sugar. We'll talk after this.
There's a deal. You shall have a discussion shortly after this. Yes. Gentlemen, sadly, time is not with us, but thank you very much. It's been, hey, I tell you, when you have hot things to discuss. But no, do you agree with, I need to finish Kithi with this one. Do you agree with Weda that he should have used the gun?
No. It's very clear. I
didn't say should have used. I said when
you threat, yeah.
Yes. But threat to life, threat to property.
Yes.
So the determination is whether there was threat to life and threat to property. It's debatable.
Yes.
According to him, there was threat to property and threat to life because people were invading. Whether he should have used the gun, I absolutely think he shouldn't have fired.
It was in bad taste.
I don't think so. The matter is before court. The court will determine.
Yeah, so we can discuss.
I don't think he should have fired that.
But that license needs to go.
No.
Maybe not.
Okay,
Maybe
but
yes.
well, we shall see. So yeah, like matters sub judice. So thank you very much. That is Ambrose Weda, advocate of the High Court, and you've had chairman of Sony Sugar, pure sweetness. I tell
Simply
you,
the sweetest.
Simply the sweetest, and of course George Kithi too, advocate of the High Court. Thank you, gentlemen. Have yourselves a very good day.